This is a very exciting time where we have less than 2 months left of Neptune direct in Pisces, starting December 10th. This has been a 14-year transit, and we will not see Neptune back in Pisces in our lifetimes. This has been a time where we can really connect with the vastness of energy that we don't see, the things that are behind the scenes, and make it useful to our lives with Saturn in this journey as well.
There are four particular dates that Jen and I are going to kind of comb over in this video, and they also include Saturn because that's really the element that's giving us the crystallized understanding of whatever soup we've been in since 2014. So that is what's happening. Welcome.
And then welcome. And then check your sign by sign at the end. The material of what this transit is going to feel like will be in the introduction, but we're just going to touch a little bit on each sign so that you have an idea of where in your life this is showing up if you don't already know the Pisces part of your chart.
Future
That's
first. First date we're considering here is December 11th, which is coming up. It might be past depending on when you're watching this, but it's a significant date because that's when Neptune finally goes direct in Pisces for the very last time that it ever will. Saturn is already direct in Pisces. And so before December 11th, we're in this little bit of a weird period where Saturn is chugging its way out, but Neptune is still kind of drawing us back into the deep waters of Pisces. So yeah, that's a particular inflection date. December 11th is when we're going to really start feeling like the end is ending. But something I have liked to say is that the culmination of this Neptune in Pisces transit might not feel very climactic really until February 21st, when Saturn passes Neptune in the very first 0 degree of Aries. And my point here is that Saturn and Neptune are so close. They're basically very merged right now, but they won't finish their cycle until they leave Pisces, which means the end of Pisces retains this ending energy. The final breath has not been taken when both of the planets are still at the end of Pisces. This might be very convoluted, but do you understand where I'm going here, Jen? This December
yeah,
11th is really important.
it's very important. And I love what you're touching on about Pisces. Like nothing is really climactic in Pisces, I think.
Yeah.
We're going to feel that what Neptune is more about, I think, when it's in Aries, because of this elusive, intangible energy with Pisces and Neptune. It's about energy. It's about what we don't see, and it is about learning to tune in to what we feel at a higher level. And that is the subtlety. That's something that I've been struggling with personally, where the subtle voices are what we want to tune into, the subtle feelings, not the louder ones.
It's always tricky with Pisces and Neptune, which is the modern ruler of Pisces, which I think, I generally use Neptune as the ruler of Pisces. I think you use both Jupiter and Pisces,
I
Jupiter and
use
Neptune, right? But
both.
anyway,
Yeah.
my point here is like Neptune and Pisces are both everything. And what I think it does is it expands what everything is. And so I think for many people, the more obtuse, the more gross or like mass things that we don't have to think about, we already aware of them. But when Neptune's been through Pisces, it's been totally like, it's not expanding in the same way that Jupiter expands, but it brings your attention to the places that are already everywhere, but maybe you hadn't realized they were there, but they're actually affecting you, like the particulates you inhale or the food that you're eating. And Jen, I know you know all about this, but it's like it's where the sensitivity, like where you do have these very small receptors. I just want to make sure that it is the big receptors too. You know what I mean? Like our embodiment is also Pisces. It's not just the subtle. And I think that's where people can get lost spiritually sometimes, or it's a common trap. Like that's when people start to spiritually bypass stuff, when they tend to overvalue um, the super unseen. Like it's hard, it's very difficult. And I say this, and I hope I'm not being too complex here, but my point is like, even I have fallen into this, like totally valuing the most subtle thing over the most gross thing, right? But in Pisces land, they're actually all the same. But I think what Neptune in Pisces since 2013, 2014 has helped us to do is to realize that the subtle does exist. Because the reality is, like, most people in the world don't pay attention to the subtle. And so for those of us who did need to bring that articulation or that awareness into our lives more, that's what like Neptune made it very shiny for us to be able to do that. But I think now that it's completing its time, and once Neptune shifts into Aries, we're realizing that like this objective truth, this unknowable objective truth, which is what Neptune and Pisces both are, it just becomes embodied. Like we have to live that for our own, through our own action and our own will in a way in Aries that is actually, you know, you have to take a lot more responsibility for your actions in that sense, but it can also become more hazy. Anyway, my point here is Pisces with all of this, Neptune and Pisces is very, very expanded in a way that has been really like beyond our own individual action, but we've been getting direct experience as to why we are interconnected on both the subtle and the gross levels. And that's just the point that I wanted to make. Does that make sense? Do I sound
Absolutely.
mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think, and I like that you use the word expansive because I was thinking about that last night and that it is different than Jupiter in some ways,
Hmm.
but it is the most expansive energy. Jupiter
Yeah.
expands what we can touch and feel more, and the Neptune
Beautifully
is
put.
just this already massive,
Yeah.
endless, eternal energy, infinity, really. And
Right.
Saturn says to us over the last 3 years, what are you going to do with it? And that's what is happening in Aries too. It's like, well, what are you going to do with all this energy? What are you going to do with
Right.
all of the nuances that we're tapping into? And
Mm.
that's the responsibility that you're speaking to. That's what Saturn is helping us all focus on. And how do we make linear sense of a non-linear realm? I think Saturn is also helping remove, well, Neptune Pisces is helping Saturn remove blocks in some ways too. That
Hmm.
Saturn is dissolving a little bit of its edge in Neptune, and
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
that will come back with this Neptune and Saturn coming into Aries.
Absolutely.
So there is a lot of responsibility when we start to understand that there's Pluto is always the planet to talk about power with, but there is a lot of power in understanding the Pisces part of our charts and working with that in a healthy way.
I mean, it's
And maybe we
objective truth. Yeah, go on.
yeah, what yeah, and well and the big T, like
That's
our
right. That's what I
emotional
mean.
wolf
The
likes to
big T, the
say,
capital
the
T.
big T. It's like what
I love that.
really just is, and maybe we could touch on some of the ways that Neptune can be more harmful versus helpful. What
Well,
we've all
yeah,
been
I
working
mean,
through, this is the past, like what we've probably been going through since 2014 is looking at how we are not using Neptune in the best ways.
you know, it's hard for me to even think about like actively using Neptune just because of how pervasive it is and how it's like completely within, completely without. Like it's hard to, I mean, I think the last few years has have given us a grip because Saturn's been there. The word that comes to my mind for Saturn is always mastery. So it's like we've been gaining our own mastery in this Pisces realm in whatever way Neptune wants, like whatever way we are projecting the capital T objective truth of reality out our way. And obviously, like the distortion of Neptune stuff is um, just misuse or um, you know. And I really hesitate to even say it's a distortion or a bad thing because obviously in like our moral realm where there is good and bad, you can identify things as such, right? Like overdosing, relying on drugs. Like I know a lot of people rely on weed to get through their days or rely on alcohol or other substances because ultimately this is something I love with the idea of alcohol or just alcohol itself. It's been called spirits, right? Like like as a painter, also I'm a painter. Oil painters use something called white spirits traditionally to like clean brushes and thin down oil paint. And it's the same. I mean, it's made up of alcohol, and so there's that direct correlation from like the creative, infinite creative process in Pisces, and oddly, or for good for bad, the infinite feeling of high that you get from drugs and from even the like, I think you can use breath work to achieve that type of state too, but it's essentially like the difference between maybe this, the difference between disassociation and dissociation. There's something like specific when you actually leave your body as a trauma response versus when you um are able to like discern the like um, unmerge two things basically, which is kind of what I feel like Saturn has been helping us do is like just because spirituality and these nuanced part of life, the subtleties that we've been so invested or like we've realized we've been thrown in the deep end basically since 2014 is kind of more how I would put it. Saturn has been helping us to like get a foothold in these otherwise like realms that you could drown in basically is anyway, that's where my mind goes.
And and this is why I brought this up because I think it's at least the ways that we use it. I think that there's
Hmm.
such nuance in Neptune and Pisces, and substances can be used as a very beneficial boost. There are natural plant medicines that have been put here for our use, weed and psychedelics, and
Right.
there are also medicines that we're developing that are really helping people adapt
Right.
to the world that we're living in when we have more ADHD and other things that this world is putting demands and pressures on our psyche, that psychotropics are helping give a leg up and are maybe part of this journey too, where we're merging with, and so there's both, like you're saying, dissociative and dissociating. Is that, am I picking that up right? Where
Yeah,
there's,
I don't know if it's the most relevant distinction, but yeah, keep going.
I guess my point being is that we need both. And so it's going to be
Right.
personal for everyone where we decide that we're walking that threshold of meditation and real world,
Right.
using
Right.
substances to help us get a state that we is
Hmm.
desirable and helpful versus a type of obliviousness or turning a blind eye to things. For me, it's been a lot of over idealization and forgiveness. And
Mm.
that's one of the nuances that there's in over idealizing, we can both create the future and the reality that we want from that place of dreaming things into life. And the love that Saturn's here helping that, but if we're not on that fine line, it can be disappointing. It can be out of balance, and forgiveness, I think, is something that a lot of people have probably been on a path for the last 14
Mm.
years in many parts of life where their process of forgiving life, just forgiving life for what it's been, the way it is, and ourselves and other people. And there's deep acceptance in
Right.
Pisces and with the Neptune journey, that then we have more umph to go into Aries with. Like if we just go
Mm.
into Aries with Neptune and Saturn and we're all fire blazing and guns ready without having done this Neptune work of
Yeah.
coming into a level of trust and peace, that's going to really be helpful in our new phase.
I love astrology because it helps us like piece or like create bookends or chapters around what are otherwise these just such vast worlds of interest. And like when you start your spiritual journey, the amount of books you want to read or the amount of people you want to meet and you want to talk. And anyway, my point is what Neptune rules itself in Pisces, and so it is literally a hall of mirrors. And right now Neptune also rules Saturn because Saturn's back in Pisces. And just to get specific here, like when Neptune and Saturn are both in Pisces and Neptune's ruling Saturn in Pisces, what comes to my mind and what has been like the symbol of this for me for many years is A Course in Miracles, like that type of non-dual teachings that are just so radical. They're amazing. I love it, but they're so radical. But it does bring you to a point of, well, I don't need to act. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to exist, which in and of itself, I do think is a fine orientation. However, We are alive. We have blood running through our veins, impulses, things that we are aware of and are not aware of that will move us, that we will want to move. And I think that's the inevitability of Aries coming after Pisces. And so what I'm very interested in is then this next date, which is January 26th, which is when Neptune moves into Aries. And it'll be interesting for about, a few weeks. So between January 26th and February 13th, in that chunk of time, Saturn will still be in Pisces, but it will be ruled by Neptune, which is in Aries. Okay, so that's the first interesting layer where Saturn, which is where we're still finishing up that mastery of the Piscean realms, but the ruler of that Saturn is now Aries. And so we are the ones in charge of our spiritual like mastery. Whereas until that shift happens, until the first shift, Neptune going into Aries happens right now, basically when we're recording, and until February 13th, until January 26th, sorry, when Saturn enters, sorry, it's so ridiculous to keep track of.
It is.
January 26th is when Neptune enters Aries. Until January 26th, when Neptune enters Aries, we're really still in that Course in Miracles, meditation, lucid dreaming, do all of it, go deep, do what you need to do. Master your awareness of your connection to all of it. Because once Neptune goes into Aries, and they're so combined right now, which I think is probably why I keep messing this up. But
Maybe we're
anyway,
not allowed to talk about them individually.
exactly. It's like, haha, good luck. But anyway, do you see what I mean? And then it's really interesting for that brief period of time, February 13th until February 21st. I guess not really, but basically February 13th to February 21st is a chunk of time where that's just the very final balsamic, the very final completion of the cycle between Neptune and Saturn. It will be in Aries, and so it'll feel like something's new. But I do think between the 13th and the 21st of February, we're going to feel like we have to finish something really big, even though we have all this new energy wanting to spurt through us. And that's because the balsamic conjunction itself carries the energy of Pisces and the 12th house and Neptune, and it's the ending, right? That's the culmination and the omega, not the alpha. Anyway, I'm on a soapbox here, so let me step back. But I do think it's fun to look at the rulerships as they change. And come February 13th, once Saturn enters Aries, they'll both be ruled by Mars. We'll be out of the. Anyway, I'll shut up now. But
That is a really nice, no, that is a really nice distinction for us to look forward to in that
mhm,
shift of energy as we prepare for this more Mars fiery,
yeah.
longer journey that we're getting into. And this recent retrograde with Neptune in Pisces, has been going on since October 22nd and will be turning
Right.
direct on December 10th. And I just want to touch on that because I
Yeah.
feel like this could have been a moment for a lot of people of feeling like there was a bubble burst. Neptune retrograde will take away the illusion. It will, especially with Saturn so close, it will create more of a reality check from that period.
Mm,
And that can feel disappointing when that happens. So just to emphasize that small chunk of time, because we're going to feel different December 10th when Neptune goes direct, and in these new cycles, we're going to have that optimism and creativity and rose-colored glasses come back in a way that feels really inspiring. And we have done this cosmic womb work in
mm,
Pisces where we've gone through the fetal development. We've gone through the foundation with Saturn there of what we need, and that inspiration will come back. So hang in there if you've been feeling a
mhm.
bit disappointed by life for the last couple of months. The fire is coming.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the fire's coming. And it's cool because Aries is the type of fire that forgets everything that made it happen. You know what I mean? Like it's like being birthed. You don't remember what your last life was, or even if you believe
Yep.
in that. Like you just have raw energy that it's time to be in a new phase with, whether it's the actual new phase or not. Aries itself is that new phase where you're following instinct, trusting immediacy and impulse. And like, yeah, it's pretty cool. You don't have to, it's not as mystical for sure. But I don't
Yet
know. I
it's
love it.
there. Yet it's going to be there with Neptune, and we're going to
That's
have
right, whether we like
this
it or not.
emergence of creativity that's quite wild.
Yeah.
It's going to be really cool to see how the next 14-year cycle evolves for all of us.
If you have an Aries rising, and particularly if this Neptune in Pisces is in your 12th house, so like 29 degrees of Neptune is in your 12th house, or also if you have an Aries rising, this is like super spiritual, spectacular going on here. I wonder what your dreams have been like. I wonder, like, my goodness, this is a ton of very unknowable implications here, but I also think you probably are feeling like there's an engine revving in some psychic space that's about to really take off in the next 3 months. That's the 12th house.
Absolutely highly intuitive, expansive.
Mm,
Whether Aries people are feeling it or not, it could just feel so normal now that
right,
it's
that's a good
not
point.
even recognized. I wonder with Aries rising, just because it does have that 12th house alignment. So there's something that is uh, expanding. Maybe it's still hidden. That's the thing with
Yeah,
12th house journeys, is that you might feel this a lot more strongly when these planets move into your sign for good in February. And you might have had a taste of it earlier this year with those cycles
yeah,
where you notice more once it's put into action, and life sends situations your way to put things into material form. So this wonderful time for Aries people to bring dreams to life
I was
and
just gonna say,
get
yeah,
into
yeah,
spiritual work if they feel called to that.
yeah.
Even more time. I think that there could have been a period of rest with Saturn over the
Oh
last
yeah,
three
or
years
just
for
like,
Aries people,
mm-hmm.
just and not enforced rest from the outside
Yeah,
world.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
not really realizing that that's what was actually happening, was that it
yeah,
was an energetic development that's about to emerge, and that rest was background reprogramming.
totally. Saturn going through the 12 feels like jail.
Yeah,
Or like, no, maybe not actual jail. I've never been to actual jail. But
it's like a restful jail, like if you've been.
yeah, it's like oh my God, this is like, I know that I'm being held here for a reason type of thing. So that's, yeah, that's a really important thing to say. I've had this transit, so I know. Yeah.
Oh, you have? Okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm envisioning a jail with where you're sleeping on clouds and
Right.
being
Right.
like sipping coconut water.
Yeah, the other thing, I know we should move on from this one, but is that because the North Node's also going to be in whatever house this is for people, it's just like you kind of know, like there's something intuitive that you know this is your path, but you just, because it's Aries rising, you're going to be the direct expression of it in no time, like through you just breathing. So yeah,
Yeah.
something wild going on here. All
I'd
right.
love to
Should we
hear
go
how this is
to,
going for Aries people.
yes,
Let us know what's showing up in your life, what you're excited about for this next chapter. If you feel this brewing already, and
yes.
you get to really lead other people for this phase, with Mars
Oh
being your
yeah.
ruler and this being such a Mars time for everyone, regardless of your
Also,
Aries placements.
yeah, absolutely.
And that brings us
Cool.
to Taurus. So Taurus will have Saturn and Neptune finishing this transit in the 11th house, which is making more of a deeper understanding of what it means to energetically align with the people that matter to you, or the people that
Mm,
are really going to support you in this life. When you are clear on what matters to you at an energetic level and what you want to put out in the world, these people are just going to magnetize to you. So you may have felt a lot of communities and groups shift around this time
mhm,
as this restructuring was happening with Neptune. And if there's been loss in this part of your life, which Pisces and Neptune can be part of, it's a dissolving that's necessary because you're aligning differently with what matters. And that's naturally going to create a network that aligns with you.
right. I imagine since 2013, 2014, you might have like been very attracted or drawn or inspired by spiritual communities themselves. And then like there might have even been some total restructuring as of recently 2023 when Saturn went in. Maybe you either started taking a leadership role in this place, or you could have actually needed to place more boundaries and say, actually, this isn't the right community. I need a different community. Given the balsamic, I imagine, regardless of what situation, if that is applying to you, you're already feeling like you have your pulse on the reset of like building out a community center to like keep the ideal grounded for what it is for you, or like what it is for the group. Like you, so that's what comes to my mind for that.
Yeah, definitely. And I just add for people that don't know that the balsamic is the closing of the cycle and those
Right.
final pieces before we move into an emergence of something new. And I think a lot of Tauruses could have had to really just tell people how it is. Maybe
Hmm.
give other people a bit of an energy check as well if they're noticing energy leaks and misuse of how they want to see energy show up in their lives.
All right. So Gemini rising for 10th house. Is that right?
Yeah.
My goodness. What was your career dream from 14 years ago, or what is it, 2014, that I wonder if you got it. I feel like you might have reached, or you found a lot of disappointment. I feel like with the Pisces in the 10th, there's like really big career, or like really big promise, or not even promise. You are gaining like spiritual mastery, and you're becoming visible in your spiritual mastery throughout your life with this placement. But having Neptune move through there, like totally, it just allows you to have a connection to all of the infinite ways in which that is true. And then suddenly you're taking a lot of responsibility for that from 2023. So I imagine this has been a big, big lot of shifts, a lot of idealism, but potentially a ton of success too. Like potentially, I don't know. What do you
Especially
think?
with the North Node. Again,
Yeah.
we haven't made a big deal of
Yeah.
the North Node in this video, but an important piece as this cycle closes off. And I think for Geminis, there could have been different ideals about what the self-authority is versus what authoritative structures in life represent to you. And I've seen some conditions where Pisces is strong here that there's a resistance or not wanting to participate in some of these structures of society. Yet this
Oh
phase
yeah.
could have brought so much intuition into what's going on behind the scenes of this way of being an authority in the world,
Mm.
and what that means to you might change so that there's less resistance to the structure that's already, or anyone that has a sense of having authority over you, and seeing more that there's this interconnected nuance to step into of self-authority. And that's what could be setting off bigger career changes, bigger career shifts as that awareness has developed.
Hell yeah. Sorry, shouldn't
Yeah, you
swear.
let
But
us know,
yeah,
Geminis.
yeah,
Want to hear how this
yeah.
is
I
showing
mean,
up.
the other Gemini thing I'll just say is that Uranus being in that area, I mean, you're really, yeah. Anyway, that's good. That's for another video, but you probably, at least in the last few months, have felt kind of a kick, kind of a shock wave that might, I don't know. That's for another
Yeah,
video. Sorry, but I
I
wanted to
think it is.
place it in there for now.
We will do a whole other video on that, and I do.
Yeah,
I think I think that this Neptune transit is the baby steps. It's like
that's right.
the milk of intuition, and now you're about to step into the distilled
Wow.
vodka of intuition.
The That was the most poetic thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm gonna
We
record
didn't
that for
add that
myself.
about Neptune and Pisces. Is that everyone's been
That
getting a
is,
poetic flair?
that's the title, dude. Okay. Anyway, um,
Oh, love
shit.
that, Julianne.
Wow. That was really good. Okay. Whew.
Sipping the
Wow.
milk. Okay.
Hell yeah.
So we're
Cancer risings have this in their ninth. This is always a fun thing because you have the like very mystical, expanded vibe in that super philosophical and like very engaged, very sparky ninth house, which just is constantly on its adventure. And so I know a few people with this placement, and it is it runs deep because it's like your beliefs don't have an end. Like they run, but and like that's the beautiful thing. You can almost, this is the very powerful, like mystical teacher. This is like, with that Cancer rising too, you have that really nurturing, like just energetic presence about you in and of yourself. And so I wonder if in that ninth house, there's also some very large foreign experience that might be coming to an end. Um, just because since 2013, 2014, when Neptune went in there, just hyper speed of the Pisces in the ninth, which just says like you can mystically connect to other cultures, or to an educational path, or even just to your own belief. It could have been really expanded, and then again 2023 you had to take responsibility for something that, so like that big shift basically that happened. But this would particularly have to do with your philosophy. So this could be really big. This could be like the end of the way that you have been believing in reality, but from both a very inarticulable perspective, but also like this would be a very like Sufi thing, because like Sufis really can articulate mystery really beautifully and very well. In the ninth house, you really can. Like you have to be able to, that's the smaller T Jupiter of the ninth house, Sag energy. And so it's big. This feels really big. I don't know.
Huge,
What would you
absolutely
say?
huge for Cancers because
Yeah,
we have this grand trine that's just lit
that's
up, and
right.
Jupiter's in Cancer, and Saturn, Neptune are trining your ascendant depending on or your placements, whatever
Right.
Cancer is to you. And so this is so much more amplified for the water signs.
Yeah.
And with now Saturn and Neptune moving into the 10th house for Cancers, this is again this stepping stone of realizing how much wisdom you have to share with the world. And that's about to step into the public light, whether that
Oh,
actually shows up materially or not. Cancers
right.
are going to be in this leadership role of the watery,
Right.
intuitive. So I think cancers are really seeing how much wisdom they that's that Saturn check is like,
Right.
and you have a lot
Right.
more to share than you might have realized.
Right.
And even if it's just amongst friends, you're going to people are going to be looking at you to represent what intuition and creativity are. So get ready. And
Bang on.
Cancers, yeah, let
Thank you,
us know
Cancer.
what's going
Yeah.
on. Let us know how this is showing up for you.
Beautiful. Alrighty. Leos
So
in
Leo
the eighth.
rising, Leo sun, moon, and rising in the eighth house. Well, this, uh, to me, the eighth house is always psychological transformation. This can show up as resources, and there are different ways in the material world, like your interconnections with other people, deep, intimate bonds that are going to reflect a bigger transformational change. But for this change, you're using the vastness of what you feel in the energetic world, not just your psychology. This is something that could be removing blockages for Leos when it comes to their creative self-expression, because Leo is such a leader in creativity and expressiveness on its own. But what happens to a Leo and a fire sign when they're deeply in tune with the watery emotional side of your psyche, and you have the now constructive tools to merge the two and make sense of that as these planets move into the ninth house? So there's going to be, this could still be very intangible for a lot of Leos out there, where you're actually not sure what's been going on. If there's been any disconnect from the world, I think this could flip it on its side in the eighth house, where you're suddenly, for Leos, wanting to feel more tangible connection and really in reality rather than, yeah, it could just highlight any areas where you want to feel more connected, and any psychological blockages that have been making you feel disconnected prior to 2014.
Right. And like that since 2014, since it's been in the eighth house, you've been literally like going through mystical hell. And it's kind of like you put the work in to have the direct experience with power when it comes to the unknowable truth. But the nice thing that happens, like you're saying, when it enters into that ninth house is when you can finally wrap your head around what you believe. And like this would be this shift from like going from like a very mystical place of confusion or like almost dark night of the soul, but from a very like boundaryless perspective. Like I can even see the shadowy realm of the Pisces stuff in this element where like there might be reliance on substance like that for every reason that's coming to mind. And then once you see this shift into the ninth house, that's kind of like your emergence from the underworld. That's that shift from the Scorpionic into the Sag, which I know it's just the houses here, but still, I mean, that Aries rebuilding that you're about to get is super, super fiery, super significant, but you've really done the due diligence with Pisces in the eighth. I mean, that's having a very deep understanding. Like you've been doing a lot of research into the mystical, into the intangible resources of infinity. And you've probably become pretty masterful at that by this point with Saturn from 23. So,
Definitely. And
yeah.
if you're not feeling it yet, yeah, this next couple of months is just going to click. And you're not
Mm,
like, I feel like that could happen for a
right,
lot of this Pisces transit is that we're not feeling the change yet.
right.
More that the deep work since 2014 can feel like we'll be there forever. And
Right.
just watch for that to pay off. Yeah. Would
Let us know.
love to hear the eighth house stuff, Leo, because that's
Mm-hmm.
always so personal. It's
Mm-hmm. It
so
has to be.
within, and even when it comes to intimacy, that's a personal story that we don't always get to hear about.
Virgo, for Virgo rising or sun or moon, should place Pisces in your seventh house. So that's where the Neptune is ending, Saturn, Neptune ending. Okay, so this is like relationships. And my goodness, since 2014, very likely that there's probably some very, very shiny experience that might have brought you into like a very large sea of like, how do I even say this? Bound like struggles with boundaries potentially, or just even um, not being able to discern the difference between yourself and someone else. But there's something really key in that experience for you and your own spiritual growth and your sensitivity to your own self and your own boundaries and the rituals that your Virgo self are doing moment to moment to create those relationships or to, reflect those relationships happening. So this is interesting because then 2023, probably something shifting pretty significantly in the way you were orienting towards this area of your life, some responsibility you decided to start taking, whether that was committing to someone very spiritual or again, letting go of a commitment and taking responsibility for um, the places, the illusion potentially the that was not going to be helpful for you over the next, years following. But if there was something that you committed to, in any type of even client-facing role, Jen, lady, I know you have the signature, and tell me because I feel like you
Yeah.
have committed to clients. You're an astrologer now. You have,
Yeah, definitely. That was a
yeah.
big part of my astrology. In 2023, I started the YouTube channel.
Oh yeah.
And at
Wow.
the same time, I went so hard in the Saturn boundaries in my seventh house that I cut off dating as a rule
Wow.
altogether. I created this really hard rule for
Wow.
me that I was not going to waste any energy in that department of my life because it felt
Wow.
like since 2014, I had just leaked so much energy into other people. And I did this check-in where I hadn't gained anything in my life. I felt like I had just been spinning my wheels trying to create some sort of ideal partnership. And that's when business decided to be the focus because I thought, well, at least if I put energy into a business, I'll more of a guaranteed return than putting energy into partnerships. However, I think that whether those boundaries were as strong for other people as what I chose to do, there was something that happened where you created a structure within your connection to other people that protected your energy. And
Mm,
now when Saturn moves into Aries, that will be more on the psychological, financial decisions, maybe. And
yeah.
there'll be some softening back
Yeah.
into what I love about Pisces in the seventh house is that there is the ability to create an ideal relationship because you have done all of this work.
Oh,
And you cannot create anything without a dream, and this applies to all of the signs. And that's what I love about
beautiful.
Saturn and Neptune and Pisces is that we do have to hold that dream, and then we create from a reality that makes sense. But if you can't dream it, then you don't know how to choose it either. You don't know how to choose that ideal. You just will accept whatever comes your way. And I would like to hear from other Virgo placements. Are you feeling that too, that there is a need to maintain that ideal? It doesn't mean that we're going to lose that ideal when these planets move on.
As a Pisces rising, I won't argue with you right now, but there I have
Do it. Do
my
it. Let's
no
hear
no
it.
no no. I'll bring it up in the Pisces one, but for now, I agree with you. I agree with you, but I have my devil's advocate Gemini
Well,
part of
it
myself that,
has to be because
of
Virgo
course,
is the ruler of your seventh house. So there's a whole different,
that's what I mean. So
very
that's why we're
opposite
in
experience
combo.
there.
We're in
Yeah.
combo if people aren't aware. Anyway, yeah, that's beautiful, Jen. Anything else on this? I feel good. People, you should, if you're a Virgo rising, go watch the Pisces rising. You hear my rebuttal. Not rebuttal. I'm not arguing, but there's a follow-up here that I think will be relevant then. So please
Very
watch that
important
one
because
too.
it's always about balancing these
That's right.
axes. It's finding that middle ground
That's
and
right.
yeah,
Let us know what you think. But all
Libra
right,
rising.
Libra rising,
Libra rising
sixth
puts
house.
Saturn and Neptune in the sixth house. And this speaks to me strongly about routines and life habits
Hmm.
and how you over idealize versus getting things done as far as the day-to-day structure that needs to happen. So this could be giving in to other people or not dealing with the day-to-day grueling life work. And what I like to add to this layer is that there's a different, this is the house of Virgo, and we can apply a different energy to how we get things done. So we can wash our dishes and clean our house and go to work with an energy of peace and acceptance. Or we can resist it and try to dissociate from it. And Saturn's going to have come along in the last 3 years and said, well, this is what's going to happen if you continue to let this part of your life go. If you continue to just let
Mm.
things be, I'm going to show you what the manifestation of that is in the real world. And if we can get back to both, and I really like how Pisces can just, I've been trying to do that now that I don't live with a dishwasher and I have been washing dishes by hand for the first time in decades. And it's like just making it a spiritual process, making it an energetic connection to the energy that we feed into the small details of our lives.
The image of like having a nightly bath time routine always comes to me when I see like Virgo or Pisces in the sixth. And so yeah, I wonder what changed in your routine from 2014 till right about now and what mastery you've been able to grasp over that routine, or maybe you still feel like you haven't been able to do that. And there's wisdom in all of it. I think even when like you forget to brush your teeth and end up with a cavity, like those are the type of stuff that like they can be fixed. You know what I mean? Like you do need to, like that is the lesson, your lesson to learn, but it's not fatal. Like you're not gonna die. I mean, of course, there are things if you consistently take drugs, you can overdose. Like that's a serious
That could
health
be in this
risk,
house
but
too. Yeah.
yeah, potentially, right? But I guess for other more mundane stuff, like you're not going to die forgetting to brush your teeth and, needing to go to a doctor or a dentist. But anyway, it's both very, very serious with this Saturn Neptune thing, and also just like where you realize you need to take your day-to-day much more lightly. Like for some reason that Pisces in the sixth house is very much so just like seeing reality in your day-to-day life, seeing the boundarylessness of your activities and how everything flows. It's very poetic. And so yeah, I would wonder what started it or what kicked off in 2014 that you feel like you have gained some real mastery over now that might not have a clear ending in sight, potentially, probably, but you're at least gaining awareness of it in a much more tangible way.
Yeah, I like that. And that makes me think, and like Libra, do you have more unconditional love for that ease
Mm,
of the process of
yeah,
just going into the flow of both getting things done and
yeah.
with that Piscean softness and more bubble
Yeah.
baths?
Yeah, because you need a bath. Like you need to pay for water. You need to have, you know what I mean? But like to turn but it's a bath, It's like you create the conditions. You create the conditions for the flow state. Like you create the anyway. Yeah.
Yes, you create the conditions for
Yeah.
the flow state. I like that. And when I wash my
Yeah.
dishes, I try to listen to music now or just like have a better
Yeah, there
something
you
else
go.
that's Piscean and lovely in that
Beautiful.
experience.
Okay, so Scorpio, fifth
Scorpios.
house,
Oh,
so
it's
fun. So fun. I mean, I
yes.
just think the fifth house is always fun, but I imagine actually, I wonder if Neptune made this super dreamy. Maybe there was a really big, like, I don't know, art or creative path or something a little bit more creatively liberating, could be creatively confusing too. I can see that coming about too, because this is already that area of the chart is very optimistic, and so Neptune can kind of make it, you can't even place where your optimism is coming from potentially. So 2014, I wonder what went down then. Maybe there was something really joyful about spirituality that you came into contact to again earlier in 2014, and then from 2023 you began to really institute that joy into your life in a way, and it became really important for you to commit to the positivity or commit to the creative influence of whatever mystical perspective or boundary, like experience of interconnectedness that allowed you to just maintain optimism. And like, yeah, the odd thing with Saturn in the fifth is like, yeah, you really need to take responsibility for your own happiness in a way, but I think it's very linked to your spiritual journey that probably had some type of shift in 2014 linked to creativity.
Yeah. And really putting it in some kind of container with this energy in the fifth
Mm,
house that I have seen some Scorpios reworking creative material and really trying to make something, whether that's business with Saturn there or
mm,
really understanding that there's so much more you can do when you can put this vast creative energy of that a deep well within yourself into something material, sharing it with other people. Jupiter's about to go in your 10th house next year, June. And that could be a time where this work you've been doing with Saturn in the fifth starts to show. And this could relate to children. So, for those of you that have
mm,
children, it could have been more challenging to create routines and structure for children, especially if they're very Piscean and you want them to flourish in this creative, childlike expression. It's maybe helping you be more creatively childlike. This is for a small portion of Scorpios who are listening that have children, and then there could just be some reworking that you're going to be liberated from when it comes to the fifth house children or your own creative projects once Saturn moves on. So you've been doing a lot of hard work, I would think. That it can put a dampening on the fun when Saturn is in your
mm,
fifth house. And so you might have been, but it will pay off because now fun will blend with something constructive.
mm. Beautiful. Let us know. What
Yeah,
you
let
think?
us know, Scorpio. And for
All right.
Sag risings, this puts Saturn and Neptune in your fourth house. And while we have this is home and family, and this can be really making sense of creating boundaries within your own home, if depending on who
Mm,
you live with roommates, but it with partners, with your family and kids. But I think about your family that you came from and your lineage. And if you came from a family where there is a long line of spiritual gifts, maybe there's something that you're coming to know better about yourself and your family lineage that is really tapped into the vastness of the energetic unseen world. And you've been reworking this in a way that makes sense for you. So you're not acting by default anymore of what you inherited from your
mm,
family, but
mm,
you're creating your own structure of taking that intuitive, energetic expansion and making what you want out of it. And this could definitely be a energy where you've had karmic reworking to do of any kind of dissociative behavior in the family line.
mm.
So if there is
Yeah.
any use of substances, or you've had parents that were, or grandparents, or whatever it is, you're reworking that for yourself now too. So you're not acting by default, you're acting out of choice.
Yeah, that was going to be what I wanted to emphasize too, because that fourth house, or if you have a moon in Pisces, really anywhere, is the way I have seen it a lot. I have seen it where people have like really strong spiritual lineage in their families, but more often I see it as like some type of creative abandonment. Like maybe the mother was very creative, but not present, like, and not doing the motherly Cancer thing because she was just somewhere else and inaccessible to the child. And so the child then created a whole, world for themselves in which they dissociated or, that, and that became their natural coping mechanism. I'm not sure why. It's just me being a Cancer. I feel very like that fourth house Cancer stuff, moon stuff. And with this huge cycle, there's probably 2014 some catalyst when Neptune came in there, which really just like amplified this already existing connection to creativity, whether that was a positive one or one that you connected to abandonment. And sometimes it's both, right? Like that make creating of space, right? Like the if you see your mom and she's 10 galaxies away, you still see the 10 galaxies where someone else maybe just saw her in front of your face. So there's like there's a lot of different ways to cut this, but definitely
Yeah,
some responsibility you've been taking. My dad has this. He's been in therapy for the last like since 2023 for sure. And like anyway, so I see it really, really, really clearly.
I
Does that
like
make sense?
that. And
Yeah.
yeah, to me, absolutely. And I'm glad you used that word abandonment, because this is
Mm,
a feeling of family void potentially
yeah,
that
there
you're
you go.
working
I mean,
through.
that's absolutely the void, that Neptune Pisces word, that can be anywhere. So that we should have been
Yeah,
using that word. Honestly, that word goes everywhere for Pisces. But
it
anyway,
does. And if you've been feeling that for Sages, you're really going to feel this payoff when these transits shift,
yeah.
as far as
Hmm.
not, that could be a hard feeling to deal with for this longer transit being amplified.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know
I'd
what you
love to
think.
hear from Sages how this is playing out.
Capricorn's third house.
Runs third,
Yeah.
yeah.
This mind activity, though, I wonder if you like felt inspired to start writing a book in 2014 and you just didn't even realize that you had the inspiration until, 2023. And then you were like, oh, I have a whole book I need to write. And maybe you finished a book. Like that's the energy. Maybe obviously not everyone has written a book, but it's like there's a really powerful way in which you can articulate the inarticulable. It's incredibly poetic. It's very much so like having Mercury in Pisces. And I always say Mercury in Pisces, like there's just, and I know traditional astrologers never like Mercury in Pisces because it's whatever, I was going to say deranged, but it's debilitated. I don't think about it that way in my practice at all, but I love considering that because it is like the key for me of like why old interpretations of astrology can be so limiting because people with Mercury in Pisces or Mercury in Pisces like are the most creative poetic writers you'll ever see. And it's so cool. And so I just think I feel very positively about this for some reason, but at the very same time, this can be a lot of confusion in your mind at the same time. Like this can be something that's been very difficult to get a grip on your own mind. You don't know like where your thoughts are beginning and ending. You don't know like your confusion. Maybe there's something wrong with your speech, and then maybe you've been trying to take, action to correct it since 2023, or getting confidence to speak could definitely be something because you definitely have something to say, but it could just be totally obfuscated by the rest of infinite reality. But yeah, that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it there with the third house. And
Hmm.
this feels to me to like similar to the seventh in that Capricorns could be feeling more of an intuitive ability to see through what other people are saying and to decipher
Yeah.
energy and language. And then that's part of the advancements that a Capricorn could be making with building their own language through this ability to also feel into things and express
Hmm.
that in a different way. I love this for the AI arena that we're walking
Oh,
into when it
cool.
comes to seeing through
Yeah.
the lies and deceit
Mm,
and creating something that's really real.
beautiful. Let us know
Let us know,
what you think.
Capricorns. You're going to know best.
That's right. You will know best.
And
That's true. Um,
that
Alrighty,
brings us to
Aquarius.
Aquarius. So for Aquarians, this is the second house. I think this is probably a hard place to have this transit because there when it comes to a financial house, and this is also self-worth in the second house, this is how you nourish your body. And there's to feel lost or void here, or to have had energy leaks to realize where your energy is dissipating, your finances are dissipating, or just really getting clear on what you value in an energetic sense. And so with Saturn since 2023 tightening that belt, there could be tough
Mm,
lessons in how you use your energy and your finances and how you nourish yourself so that you're optimizing energy and you're going to see that pay off. But if you've had energy leaks, that's where I just think it's painful, whether it's finances or yourself or
mm,
your self-worth not having that that tangible nature for maybe most of your life with Pisces ruling this part of your chart. And but yet for Aquarians that Aquarians are so strong at going on their own will and their own path regardless of what others think. So this is just the next layer of leveling up and not necessarily a signature of how each Aquarian is going to present because it will be so different in the charts. But I would love to hear what Aquarians have to say. I'm curious, Julianne,
yeah.
what you think too of
Well,
this creativity and the
yeah.
energetic
I mean,
connection in the
I
second.
think everything you said is probably going to be very helpful for people to realize or to hear. But I also see that like that second house is just where you can enjoy your life. And so there's just an increased awareness of the subtleties and the various, very small ways, the perfume that you like and this, and maybe it's like helping to ground you in this way. It's this like strong aromatherapy, strong like these like subtle tools that connect you to the infinite realms, but somehow that actually helps you feel more grounded because this is your second house. So that's the thing. Like you can really see the infinite reality even within a very um, like bounded object. Like that has like a definite value, like your pay, you can see how infinitely, maybe even very small amount of money can go. Like you have just a lot of that's just really positive reading of it, but it's been a really huge lesson since 2014 and one that you've really been asked to step up and master in the last 3 years, since 2023. And so, yeah,
I
either
like
way,
that as
probably a
far
little bit
as
of both.
where the money and energy can go and that connection to pleasure and how to
Yeah.
make it all
Yeah.
work in a newly refined
Hmm.
value system.
Yeah, I could have also felt a lot of void in that area though, just because, if I'm thinking more about that, it's really true. Like this, not just the balsamic, but just having Neptune in its home sign of Pisces. It's just like very dreamy. You could be like, oh, I don't need money. And then Saturn comes in and is like, oh, I really do need some money. How do I make this work? And then you need to use the creative capacity of Pisces and not the dissociative capacity of Pisces. So it can get really
I
real
like
really quick. But
yeah, I like the use of mantras in this house. Like Aquarians have a new mantra for connecting with the energetic abundance that they want to create. And yeah, if you have a new mantra
I
or you have a new system, share it with us because I want to know
I didn't
what
I don't know where you heard mantra. I didn't say it, but I think I like it at work because it's very it makes
spiritual.
sense. And that
It's
these
like
Aquarians,
calling in the energy for
that's right.
what you want in this second house.
You Aquarians have Pluto in your first house, which we're not talking about in this video, but that's a whole nother freaking thing that I think probably has your attention, probably just a little bit more than the Pisces stuff, unless you have Pisces placements, like moon, whatever. But anyway, that's for another
Yeah,
larger
this is a
synthesis.
small layer, and we
Let
look
us
forward
know.
to
Let
diving
us
into
know.
Pluto video for you
Yeah.
Aquarians next. Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Awesome.
All right. Finally, we have the Pisces
Hey,
risings, and that's
drum
me.
roll, Pisces, take it
Well,
away,
hey,
Julianne. This is
congratulations
huge.
to all of us. Congratulations to us because if you're like me, you finally realize that you exist. And this is the conversation I've had with my other Pisces rising friends, um, who agree with me that there has been this very strong feeling, basically our whole lives, but particularly in the last 10 years or so, where we just don't feel like we exist. Like we have to remind ourselves that we exist, right? With Neptune going through the first house, it's like, whoa, that first house is your immediacy. It's where you're taking action. It's who you are before you even think to act. It's the actions that are happening. It's like that first house in the ascendant is what water is to a fish. You don't even realize you're in water. Like, why don't we realize we're in air? But when Neptune goes in it, it's like we were already kind of spacey and dreamy, and then Neptune's in it, and it was like our eyes only get wider. The rose-colored glasses only get stronger until Saturn comes in 2023. And it's not like it was bad for everyone. I think a lot of Pisces risings just realized they needed to take responsibility for their natural interconnectedness. Because, like that Pisces rising, you are naturally very porous, very unencumbered by cumberment. I don't know. Like, so my point is like I have felt very strongly in the beginning of this transit, a very deep, I never even lost myself because I never even knew I existed. And then I got deeper and deeper into non-existence through my own interests in spirituality and art and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, it just grew, and then the bubble kind of popped when Saturn entered. And so I tried to abandon it at first with Saturn, but then I realized I can't. I have to actually master it, like this big haha moment. Like you can't run away from this. Like you're gonna be a Pisces rising still. But anyway, yeah, it's really weird, and it's pretty cool. I just think I also this could be applied to the 10th house as well too, but this, and I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but this combination of Saturn and Neptune in the first is definitely the immediacy or the presence of spiritual authority. Like there's some type of um, responsibility over the immediacy, the presence, Aries presence, first house presence of spirituality, that this signature takes responsibility for in their very presence, with Saturn now completing its time and Neptune also completing its time. So this Pisces rising people have their grip together in the Pisces world. And if you don't, that's really fine, because when it all goes into Aries, you're going to act it out anyway. Like you don't even need to think that you have it. It's going to happen through you. But what I'm saying is you already have, like, yeah. Does that make sense?
I will toot the horn for all Pisces out there
Oh,
because I
that's
just
sweet.
think
Oh, well, I
that
didn't.
what?
Sorry, I don't want to.
Go
I
ahead.
need to
No,
interrupt you
no,
because
no,
I
do it.
didn't fight you back on the Virgo rising thing. I was just
Okay, keep going.
remember when you so
Yeah, let's get into
Jen
this
was the
battle of the X's
start
now.
Jen started the Virgo rising little piece that we did. You should go and watch it. And Jen was saying that you need to be able to dream your dreams before you can choose them. And as a Pisces rising, and very fortunate Pisces rising in my life, I have been able to choose things I could have never dreamed of. I've had experiences in my life that have been so amazing. I consciously could not have dreamt them up, but I still chose them. I was still able to choose them. And that's all the rebuttal I wanted to put. But I do see that having a Virgo rising and then having Pisces on that seventh house means that you're looking Pisces a little bit more directly from the outside in a way that I can't see Pisces from the outside because it's just like all around me. So I'm like, oh, everything's a beautiful dream. Like, let me look. But anyway, did you get what I'm saying? I'm
That's
sorry,
such
I
an interesting piece.
completely
So that, yeah,
interrupted you, but
no, I love
yeah.
that. So from a Pisces, it's not about you're in the dream already. You're not,
Well, yeah,
yeah.
I'm an illusion.
It's always so
Big time.
fascinating for me to hear this Pisces perspective. And I think
Likewise
that
for the
Saturn,
Virgo.
it's such a lovely balance.
Yeah.
It feels in more opposition than any of the other signs for some reason on the axis for
Oh,
me too. Like I feel like it's just so
honestly, same.
drastically different
Honestly,
because like
same.
the reality
Yeah.
of Virgo and the
Oh my
endlessness
God,
of
it's so
Pisces and
different.
the intangible nature. And I think Saturn here could have felt like a hard hammer in a
Yeah. Oh,
Pisces
oh,
realm. Yet there's so much that like Pisces can't be just in this isolated energy without sharing it with the world because we've gone through this process with all of humanity where we now, with Neptune having been in Pisces, we are more Piscean than ever, but we need to have Pisces people feel that support of Saturn so that
mm,
they can step
yeah.
into these leadership
Reality.
roles for everyone
Yeah.
else because everyone else is really going to need that Piscean perspective and experience. And I want Pisces people to feel safe and protected. And I hope that's what Saturn has done is that I like the
Hmm.
visual of it's created this little egg around
Right.
that tarot card of the spiritual egg. Like there is now a shell and an embodiment to walk through with. And yeah, wow, when it goes into the second house, I hope that Pisces feel more alive in a human body and and not drained by connection. Because I think
Right.
with Virgo at South Node in Virgo right now, that could
Mm,
be part of what was I think what always has been with the permeability of a Pisces, but showing up even more so in this eclipse cycle where the South Node is showing how much partnerships can drain if we don't have that self container with the North Node in Pisces.
that's a huge one. Yeah, I could really get into that, but I think
I know the South Node's not always a
I'll
drain. There's a lot more to it than
no, no,
that,
yeah. I mean,
but
it's all part of it. I'm gonna restrain myself for the
yeah.
sake of people's ears and times here, but I completely agree, and it's very well put, Jen. So love it.
Well,
Thank
thank you
you,
so much,
Pisces.
Julianne,
Thank you,
and
Jen.
everyone for being here and checking this
Yes.
out. And always love the excitement from this Pisces over here on the screen with me.
Well,
And
I wouldn't. It's hard to pin me down. So, Jen, thank you. But the fun thing is, people don't know. I don't know if you're watching by this point, but like I'm a Cancer and she's a Capricorn, and so again, it's
we love it.
like we need this the duality. It's everywhere, and it's. But we both have Venus ruled moons, which I think is also really sweet.
That
So.
is that's the ingredient that keeps it copacetic with all of the
Copacetic is like my favorite word. It's the most Virgo word in the world for saying like all good, not copacetic. Like anyway, keep going.
Believe it or not, I hope this was a copacetic video for you. And
I love it, Jen. I love it.
yeah, thank you,
Thank you,
Julianne.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jen.
And look forward to chatting with you next time.
Bye.
Bye.